Okay. I need to give Alex sharing rights. I haven't done that before. Alex, do you want to send a presentation?
I can. It's a Google presentation.
I don't know how to give you present. Do you have a present button, a share button?
Here in Zoom?
Yeah.
I don't see it.
Try again now, please.
Yes, I see it now.
Okay, I already started the recording. So, hello everybody, good evening. Sorry for starting late. We have Alex with us, Alex MacIntosh. Alex, I don't want to waste any more time, so I'll let you get right into it. So,
all right,
guys, welcome Alex MacIntosh.
Thank you very much. Hi everyone, welcome. And to all of those who are with us here live on the last Friday night of the summer, I want to say thanks. And those who have better things to do and are watching this later, I'm sure you want to be here and you're sorry, not sorry about that. So welcome all of you who are watching this. It's my goal to give you at least a few ideas in how you can keep your members happy and keep them coming back to your club. I'm going to start my presentation here, and I'll give you some more information, of course. So I hope you can see my screen now. And I want to start by talking about this photo that's here. And can you see this photo with my first slide? Can you give me a yes?
Yes, yes, Alex, we can.
Great. So this photo was taken by our very own Edith Trunco, who is one of our members. She's been a member with us for a couple of years, and she is a photographer. She does special events, and although she's not exactly she doesn't have her own full-time job as a photographer, she does do photo shoots. And one of the first things that I made sure that I did when I became president is to talk to the members about what their strengths are and see how we can harness them. And one of the things that we did with Edith was to invite her to come and take some professional photos, and this is one of them, and it's one of the photos that I think really demonstrates Budapest Toastmasters. And this is the theme of my webinar about improving member satisfaction. These are what you want to see on people's faces, and I believe this is what brings people back, and that is smile and having fun. So my first question for you is, to improve member satisfaction, do you really want to improve all of the members' satisfaction? I say to that question, I say no. There is a certain type of member that you want to keep, and a certain type of member that, if that member is not helping to improve the lives of other members, then that member can go. Just to be to start off with, just my opinion. I do not represent Toastmasters in that opinion. Let's continue. You can see my tanned legs here. This is a picture from the Aloha River Cruise this summer, which is one of the things that I tried to promote amongst all of the Toastmasters in Region 10. And we had a few people come from the Czech Republic. It was, I consider it to be a success. We had over 40 people on the boat, and it was, I believe, the first time that there was a Toastmasters meeting in a boat. And I love doing things interestingly for the first time, so this was one of them. Let me tell you a little bit about myself for the people out there who don't know me. My name is Alex MacIntosh. My nationality, I'm from Canada, and I joined Toastmasters on May 1st, 2014. Maybe you're thinking, why should I listen to this guy who's only been a member for 5 years? Well, let me tell you a little bit more. So for officer roles, I've done all of them except for secretary. Achievements, I won a bicycle when I was 12 years old, and my IQ is off the charts. I hope you can see the sarcasm in this whole situation. And the first thing that I hope you gather from me is that I'm not super serious. And I think this is the attitude that we want to bring to Toastmasters, is that it doesn't have to be serious. We can have fun and grow at the same time. We don't have to be stiff, buttoned up Toastmasters. We can be fun, and I think if it's fun, it's what keeps people coming back. So this is kind of the tone of my presentation, and I hope it will carry out throughout. You will see that my IQ is definitely on the chart here. Let's go into it. First of all, I want to double check to make sure everyone can see what I can see here on my screen.
Yep, yeah, Alex, we can.
Great. There's a quote here that I think is excellent. It really pertains to Toastmasters. It's make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver, the other gold. It rhymes. It's very cute. And it's nice to think of our members as our friends in Toastmasters. But if you're an officer in your club, they are no longer just your friends. They are now your customers. And you need to look at them like customers if you want to keep them around. So let's rewrite this in that vein. Get new members, but keep the current members. One is valuable, the other is more valuable. And who said that? Well, I just did. So if we look at our members through this lens, I think we're going to find more ways that we can retain our membership and keep people happy. Now, if we look at things from a customer point of view, and we think about customer acquisition cost, there's a cost for a customer. And an old business adage says that it's 5 times more expensive to find a new customer than it is to keep an existing customer. And I don't know if that's correct or not, but I've seen that number thrown around since I was in business school, and there is some truth to it. Is it exact? Well, maybe we'll never know. So this is the acquisition cost of a new customer, which tells us that it's easier to keep an old customer than to find a new one. How about selling? Well, the numbers there are a little bit more clear. 60 to 70% success in selling something to an existing customer versus the 5 to 20% of a new customer, and that falls in line with the acquisition cost. Now, I'm almost done with all these boring numbers in this business speak. I got one more slide for that, and for this I need your help because there is a percentage I want you to fill in. If satisfied by the customer experience, what percentage of consumers would recommend a brand to the other? The next time I hit my keyboard here, it's going to pop up that number. I'd like you to write your number into the chat box. I'll give you a few seconds. What percentage of consumers will recommend a brand to others if they are satisfied by the customer experience? I'll give you a few more seconds. I can't tell if you are adding or not because I don't want to spoil it for the people who haven't typed anything in yet. But now the time is up, and here you go. It's 73%. I hope you are aware of this. The reason why I pull up these statistics is that our membership really does rest on the shoulders of the members we already have. And of course we need new members, but it's the current members that are so important to us from a Toastmasters point of view and from a business point of view. So let's keep going. Does anybody know what this is? Anyone with their mics on?
It's a Ford Focus ST, 220 horsepower, front wheel drive. Do I need to continue?
Excellent. It's a Ford Focus. That's what I was looking for. And the point of this first 5 minutes was to focus on the members that you already have. This is how you will make your club a successful club. If your club is busy trying to come up with membership campaigns to find new people, you need look no further than the members that you already have, unless your club is dangerously close to going under. So hopefully that is not the case. And if you do need to do some membership recruiting, there are lots of methods that you can use to do that. Let's continue. A lot of times the first thing that we need to do to keep our members happy is just show them that something is new. We need to freshen up our club. I think there's 3 ways that you can do that. The first is with a new identity. And when I took over at Roastmasters in South Korea, this is the first thing that we did. We wanted to show people that we had some new ideas. And we communicated that with a little logo, which was a little typeface with something on fire, and to show members that we were new. And that was the whole point of it. Now, of course, Toastmasters has a logo already, but there are some clubs out there that do have a text-based logo or some kind of an image, and I'm all for that. Budapest Toastmasters, the club that I'm the president of, we have our own little logo, and because each club is different, you have to show people that I believe. And by showing that your members that, they will start to get excited about some new things. I'm going to identify 3 different types of members a little bit later on, but we should always be aware that there's members who are active and there's members who are inactive. And getting those inactive members active again is really the job of the Exco, and what I'm going to show you, the way I do things here tonight. So a new identity is a way to show your existing members that something new is coming, and I recommend that you do that. And if you have questions about that, you can message me later. We can talk about it in the Q&A. Number 2 is some new tools. Now, I love Toastmasters. I've been a member for 5 years, but Pathways is okay. I don't mind Pathways. I think it's a tool that we can work with. But we don't have to take all of our tools from Toastmasters, and there are some great ones that we can make ourselves, great technology that we can use from the outside world, and if we get creative, we can just put a spin on things and make things a little bit more fresh. And let me give you an example of something that we use. It's called Menti.com, and if you've heard of Menti, then you know what it's capable of. It's basically a phone-based or browser-based software that allows people to put forward their ideas, to vote, to participate in polls, and they have a few really creative and really exciting functions that are free for on Menti.com. If you haven't heard of Menti or haven't used Menti, please write it down. It's MENTI.com. And it's really cool. That's one thing that you can use to engage your members during a meeting, for voting, for getting information on some or ideas, or people to vote for things up and coming. Menti.com. Another new tool that we use at my club is the evaluation tools. We have those, the slips of paper where we can send feedback to our members after their speech. And if you're like me, number 1, it's really difficult to write on your lap, and number 2, you don't have much space. And if you're not shy with paper, you can really enhance this one. And we use 3 different types of evaluation forms. We have a start, stop, keep form that we use. We also have a body language, structure, content evaluation form. And there's a 3rd one, and it is, let me think. I can't remember it off the top of my head. But what we do during a meeting, what we have done during a meeting is we split the audience into 3 groups, and each group is to focus on one specific thing. Now, just that alone makes it more interesting to be an audience member, and it doesn't take any more planning than a few pieces of paper. So it's something that, that if you find your meetings to be a little bit routine, this is something easily that you can incorporate, and I urge you to try it. Try it and then get your members' feedback using menti.com, and then you can decide if it's something that your members enjoy or don't enjoy. And again, the ideas that I'm going to throw out there today, and hopefully get some other ideas from you too, these are something to try and then get feedback on, right? The only way to grow is practice and feedback, and if you don't practice new stuff and get feedback on it, the meetings are going to get boring. Anything that's predictable gets boring, so we got to keep it unpredictable. And this is the third point that I'd like to make, which is some new ideas. And I hope to get some new ideas from you guys as well. I'm going to jump out and jump back into my Zoom here because I can't see any of the comments that are coming in, if there are any. I'm sorry, guys.
Long story short, we need the website. We're trying to find the website that you just recommended.
Menti.com. It's MENTI.com.
Okay, I just typed it.
A request a code here. It's asking me for a code.
It's asking you for a code.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna. This is the website that you would use to continue once the room has been set up. And let me just jump right in and type something different here. Some new tools.
Okay.
Try mentimeter.com.
Yeah, I've got it. Thank you.
Welcome. I have a question. Can you still see my PowerPoint presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
You see that I've typed in mentimeter.com here. Some new ideas. This is what I would like to go into now. And before I do that, I would like to, because we had one question, perhaps we have some others. Any questions on what I've talked about so far, or something you'd like to add, or even a challenge? I'm up for a challenge.
Remember the ice bucket challenge?
Yes.
Don't do it.
Okay. Because of the electronics, you mean, or because of my hair?
Your hair, of course.
All right, thanks. Okay, let's continue. Some new ideas. Yeah, it's mentimeter.com. Sorry about that. That's where all the information is. And then the menti.com is where the rooms are, where you can vote and stuff. And we've had such good fun with Menti. It's been great. So I recommend that for sure. Some new ideas. Once we look at our members as customers, we see that they have needs, and customers have needs, people have needs, humans have needs, everybody does. But I think Toastmasters members have specific sets of needs, and this is why they come to us. Now, Toastmasters fulfills, by its nature, 2 of those needs, and I'm sure you already know what those are. Could you just shout them out to me? What does Toastmasters help us do? What need do they fill?
Attention.
Attention? I mean more at the core of Toastmasters. What does Toastmasters give us?
Somebody's listening to me.
Somebody's listening to you, yeah. That would be the public speaking part, and the leadership part. This is in the Toastmasters mantra. It's in their tagline. But just by going to any Toastmasters meeting, you're going to find these 2 things. But I think that there are 3 more needs that we need to fulfill in order to retain our members. And this is where I'm going to stop for a second and get some input from you. These are just 1-word answers, and I would like to throw it back to you in the comments now. What are the 3 other needs that you think Toastmasters provides, whether they mean to or not. Why do people go to Toastmasters meetings?
Friendship, networking, and environment.
Mm-hmm.
It's entertainment, not environment.
Entertainment, yes. Sorry.
It's actually visible, Alex. We can read it from your.
I realize that now. I realize that because someone said environment and they weren't reading correctly. Shit. Okay. These are what I think, just what I think the needs are. Friendship, networking, and entertainment. Now, friendship and networking are not the same thing, right? We know this. Our friendships are making contacts with people. Personal contacts, personal connections. These are bonds, people to lean on when we're having trouble. This is the tribal element of Toastmasters, where people keep in touch even after they're no longer members. And this is a big part of Toastmasters for a lot of people. The networking side is the professional side. It's the making contacts, collaborations, the mastermind groups. I get clients through Toastmasters all the time. I'm a speech coach, and they come to Toastmasters looking for, they want to get on stage and they want to practice their 40-minute presentation. Well, the answer to that's no. And the last one is entertainment. And this is really the unpredictability of Toastmasters. And if your meetings are exactly the same every week, no matter how good they are, eventually, I think that your members get bored and they're going to look for something that is more entertaining. This is the fun, interesting, exciting, and emotional part of Toastmasters. And I invite you to comment if you have any ideas or suggestions. Maybe there are more that I haven't thought of. So just to keep in mind that it's more than public speaking and leadership. There's lots of other elements involved, and I think they boil down to these three. When coming up with new ideas, we need to think which of these needs do they meet. And if they meet more than one, then I think it might be a good idea, and it's worth trying. So it's more than just the meetings. We know that, right? What can be done on the meeting day? If you're watching this now outside of the live event with your Exco members, and I'd like you to stop this right now, hit the pause button and talk about it. What can be done on the meeting day? Because it's more than just the meeting. There's before the meeting, there's during the meeting, and after the meeting. Now, one of the things that we do before the meeting, we've experimented with, is having a person whose job it is to facilitate the guests. Now, what usually happens in our meetings, maybe yours are the same, is that people come in, usually newbies, they come in 20 minutes early, 15 minutes early, and they sit somewhere by themselves and they don't talk to anybody. The Sergeant at Arms is busy getting the room set up and doesn't have time to engage everybody. So what we've experimented with is a role taker whose job it is to facilitate. And we've had question cards and trivia. We've done little things to spark the conversation, and this adds to the enjoyment of the meeting. Of course, some people just come in 2 minutes before. A lot of our members, they don't come into the meeting room until the meeting's about to start. But for those people who do, have something there for them. And I'm sure this gets discussed outside of my little webinar, but it's something that we often overlook, and it's a great way to get data on the people that come to your meeting, especially if you get lots of newbies. Now, during the meeting, that's a whole, I think, webinar in itself. And we have our variables of the meeting, like the time and the location, the rules, and the agenda. Now, the time of the meeting, I don't recommend that you play around with that too much, although the location of the meeting is fun to experiment with. And just a little side story, my club, Budapest Toastmasters, is currently looking for a new venue. And so we were demoing different venues in the month of August. We tried 2 different ones, and then we got feedback from them. And each venue has its own character, its own vibe, its own feel, and you can really get a sense of what works best when you try a few things. Now, for the corporate clubs, maybe you don't have that luxury, but you can do an outside meeting, maybe you can do one in an interesting area. And my old club in South Korea called Roastmasters, this is kind of a sub-brand of Toastmasters. There's 2 in South Korea and 1 in Hong Kong, and they were all started by the same guy. His name is Bob Kinzel, and it's Toastmasters, and they meet in a bar. And I was part of, that was my first club, was Roastmasters, and they were always doing things out of the box. And one of them, of course, is having beers with the meeting. But the thing that they did really well was playing around with the location, in that they had interesting locations for meetings that involved getting closer to the public. So I remember in Toastmasters Hong Kong, they actually rented a tram, which is for an hour and a half, which is possible. And they had a meeting on a tram. Now, the tram was just for them, but they've also had meetings in a park, a public park, where people are busy walking through, walking around, to get more of that public element of public speaking, because what they found were that they were a small club and people had gotten used to, you know, their comfort zone was involving these people. And to get people out of their comfort zone, they literally put them in public to give their speeches. Now, that is some advanced stuff. I don't know if your club is anywhere close to that. I think it would be an excellent idea to try, and please, if you do, give me some feedback about it. We're going to talk about the roles and the agenda a little bit later, but for now, what can be done on the meeting day is after the meeting. What can you do after the meeting to facilitate some of these needs that people have in leadership, in public speaking, friendship, networking, and entertainment? Budapest Toastmasters, we go for food and a drink after our meetings on Monday night, and it's where a lot of the secondary needs are met: the friendship, the networking, and the entertainment. So if your club doesn't meet and do something after the meeting, I urge you to do that. And if you do something now but you don't find that many people go out for it, or that it's not that exciting, play around with that part and see what happens. Okay, let's talk about outside the meeting. So we have special events which include things like the contest, but that's often during the same as the meeting time. And the special event that I was part of this summer was the Aloha River Cruise, where we had a meeting on the boat. And we didn't have a full meeting. We had 2 speeches and table topics, but it was engaging for a lot of people, and we got excellent feedback on it. If you were part of that, thanks for coming. If you weren't, you missed out. It was super fun, and although it wasn't easy to promote, because if you remember correctly, we had an incident, a huge accident actually, on the Danube River 3 weeks before our event, but we were still able to have a great event. So luckily, things were okay. And of course, when a lot of things are outside of our control, but we can only do with what we have. So special events there's lots of time to get creative for those. And the one that we did was the Aloha River Cruise. Other things that we plan to do this year for Halloween: a scary speech contest where there's no rules whatsoever. It's just you have 5 to 7 minutes. You can use whatever prompts you want. You can dress up. You can use music. You can do a piece of theater. It's whatever you want. And it's the audience who votes, not a panel of judges, to keep things more interesting and make it more enjoyable. The last scary speech contest I was part of was in South Korea. The winner, what he did was he read from Edgar Allan Poe's the one of Poe's pieces, but he replaced one of the words and made it funny and actually won the scary speech contest. But he did it in a very macabre way, so it was very, very fun. So special events, something to think about. Christmas parties are also a special event, and of course there's seasonal things that we can do. So we try to do something once a month at Budapest Toastmasters. Retreat. This summer we had a challenge, a summer challenge. There were 5 elements that you needed to fulfill in order to come on a retreat for free. The retreat happens next weekend. And basically you had to take all of the roles, for example, Toastmaster or general evaluator, speaker or evaluator, timer, counter, ballot counter. We split up the roles like this, and you had to fulfill each of those so you could come for free. And usually in the summertime, it's difficult to fill roles. I don't know about your club, but at our club it usually is. But this was something that activated our people, gamified Toastmasters a little bit more than Pathways did, and it got us to engage our members a little bit better. And now we plan on doing a challenge and a retreat also in the wintertime. So something that you can do outside the meeting to foster these needs, the friendship, networking, and the entertainment. Of course, at the retreats, we do Toastmastery things too, things like table topics and workshops and that kind of thing. So. Also, hangouts. We do lots of hangouts. So we go for bike rides, we hang out at the park, we have picnics, and it's easy to do. It just takes a Facebook event, and anybody can go. One thing that we do with our picnics is we just invite everybody from our Toastmasters club plus anybody else. And this is a good way for Toastmasters members to network and create bonds with people that aren't in Toastmasters, because we don't want to just have all Toastmasters people all the time, of course. The next thing I'd like to talk about, I want to keep an eye on my time here. Okay. Is to engage your club using member archetypes. Now, what we have done at Budapest Toastmasters is we've identified 3 types of members. And to keep your members happy, you have to engage them. If people are bored, then they're going to leave. And it's interesting that before I prepared for this webinar, I did some research to find out why people leave Toastmasters. I just Googled it for fun and did a little bit of reading. And the number one thing that I gathered from the research was that it was interpersonal conflict. Now, there's not much you can do about that if it happens, but if the same person is causing the conflicts, well, you might think about that member being the problem and not anything else. But what I've found by talking to members who have not renewed their membership is that although they'll give you reasons why they don't come back, I don't think we really know exactly why. It's a mixture. It's like a stack of reasons from, I don't have time and I have this new project at work, and, I have a new girlfriend and something else. Like ways to defend the fact that they didn't come back, when really it's just that I think it's that they weren't engaged enough. And if we engage our members using these member archetypes, we can identify what people enjoy most about different elements of Toastmasters and pinpoint those based on the person instead of the club. So let me talk about 3 different types here. The quiet members. When I first joined Toastmasters, I was a quiet member. In fact, it took me 3 times to go to my first Toastmasters meeting. The first time I was late, and I looked and saw how many people were in the meeting, and I turned around and went home. The second meeting that I went to, I was on time, but there were so many people and it was so loud, and I'm a quiet person, that I went to the washroom and then I excused myself and went home. And the third time, I prepared myself emotionally for the meeting itself, and I went and I never looked back. So quiet members are a little bit different than our super active members. One way to engage them is with the responsibilities. And one of the things that came up through an idea generating brainstorming session at our club was that we have resources at home that we could share with our Toastmasters people, and a lot of these things are educational and personal development related. For example, books. So if you have a little cubby hole or a little closet where you meet, one of the things that you could do is to have a little book club and get people to bring their books. And a lot of people don't read these days, and if they read a book, they don't read it again. And a lot of times these personal development books have highlighted sections in them, something that other people can use. And it's been, of course, we're still working on it, but it was one of those ideas that everybody thought, yes, that's a good one. And if you can do it in your club, a quiet member is a member who is more likely to be a reader and to be more activated by this idea, I think. Finally, a challenge. I love challenges, although I wasn't a very talkative person until I became a Toastmaster. Little challenges, little gamified challenges were something that I really liked. And I was a video game player in my early days, and I love challenges. And this speaks towards that. Finally is rewards. And again, this is the gamification part of it. There's lots of great books on gamification that you could check out and try to apply to your Toastmasters Club. Great way to activate not just the quiet members, but others as well. What more can be done? The second type is the inactive members, the members with one foot out the door who you haven't seen in a while. We all have these members in our clubs. We have to engage them or they're going to go. If you haven't seen them for 3 weeks, reach out to them, find out what's going on, if anything's going on. If they say nothing's going on, they're in trouble of leaving the club. So you have to show them what's new, and one thing that we are showing our Budapest Toastmasters people is that we do have a fresh face. We have a little logo that we're using, and we have one of our members who's a photographer taking pictures to really show them in high definition that there's something going on and they should come back and check it out. These photos and these events also get people talking. We want more comments, more engagement in social media. That also gets people more intrigued, more curious as to what is exactly going on. And if this is different than these inactive members, they want to get on top of that. And reach out to them, not in a blanket message, but one-on-one. If you're one of the EXCO members, reaching out to your inactive members is something that we're supposed to do as part of the Toastmasters program, but I never did it until I became president of my club here. And reaching out one-on-one to have a conversation, not just send a message, but to open up a conversation and get their input as to what they think is missing or what they think can be done better, and then try to use that if it fits with your overall goals. And the third thing that can be done to inspire your active members. Now, we don't often think about our active members as needing anything, but on the contrary, I think our active members are the ones who should have the most say in the club. And when they come to all the meetings, they're the ones who need a little bit more variety in the experience. So it's important to not just give more of the same, but to mix things up. And one way to do that is to invite guest speakers, non-Toastmasters, inspirational guest speakers. A mindfulness coach or someone who is doing something in the personal development sphere, I think is a great complement to public speaking, and it's something that's in line with the guest speaker's goals, which is to have an audience, and something that's good for our members as well, to open up other avenues for growth. Because in my experience, people that are in Toastmasters are about personal growth first, and all that other stuff second, for a while, and then those other things start to take over. So we can inspire our active members this way. Again, with a challenge like the summer challenge we did just this past season, and ask them individually. It's the opening up the dialogue, I think, is the best way to get some interesting ideas. Finding refreshing ways to meet needs is the way that you're going to retain your members, keep them happy. And I'd like to talk about a couple of the roles now. For example, in leadership. if you're to create a new role for a limited time, again, limited time is the operative word, you will engage people much faster. For example, when I was in South Korea, there was a role. It was to, what's the word I'm looking for? Critique something, but in a negative way. So it was to, not as a recommendation, but recommend you not to do something. And I forget the title of the role now, but it was, stay away from this restaurant, or see any movie except this one. And now, although it is sounds a little bit negative, it's in a fun way, tongue-in-cheek kind of way. And hearing someone stand up and give a well thought out negative review of Review Master was the role. Give a negative review of something is highly entertaining. And if you've never had this role, I recommend that you do. Sit down with your Exco people and go through the roles and find out what you can do to spice things up, and put this onus onto your members. Find a way to jazz up these roles. And I'll give you another example. We had a ballot counter about 3 months ago. She prepared little envelopes, one that said best table topics, one that said best evaluator, one that said best speaker. And she put the names on cards, fancy cards, with the Toastmasters logo on the outside. So when she pulled the card out, it had the logo on it. And when she was on the stage doing this, she played music, Oscar music, when the person came to accept their award. Now, is this little twist on a role like ballot counter, is it going to save the members? I don't think so, but it certainly gets people talking, and it makes people laugh. It ticks a bunch of boxes, and it inspires people to try the same with their roles. I think it's a great practice, and one of the things that we do a lot is try something new in a role. Put your personality into it. Take your ideas. Don't ask anybody. Just do it, and enjoy it yourself. Putting your personality into it and inspiring others to do the same. Now, I'm almost out of time here. I want to open it up to your questions. I just have a few more slides. But one of the last things I want to say is we don't have to reinvent the wheel completely, just to put a little twist on things. And in this way, we can often satisfy our members. We don't have to do everything. We don't have to pick the club up, put it on our shoulders, and go and do something. We just really have to freshen things up. And a couple of more things. I think that's the last slide. Yeah. The last thing I want to talk about before I ask for questions and get your ideas is let these ideas come from your members as much as possible, because when they have ownership, of course, this is where a lot of the magic happens, when you just kind of prime them for good ideas and let the ideas come out. The best ideas didn't come out from me, of course, but hopefully you see that by putting twists and thinking of things from different angles, some good stuff may come out. And the last thing that I want to say is that to experiment and not to take this too seriously. I've been to a lot of clubs where everything is so serious, and it's true when you're in public at work, you should take it seriously because it's a professional thing. But Toastmasters is the place to fail, and fail hard, and laugh about it. And I don't find that happens quite enough. So this is what we try to do at Budapest Toastmasters. And there are members who don't agree with that idea. And these are the members that I don't mind if they go. And I know that might sound a little bit harsh, but if you're an Exco member, or Exco, I mean club officer, if you are a serving member of the officer, you're creating a Toastmasters club culture, your club culture. And it's important to define what that is and stick to it. And if you're a corporate club where the boss is there, I understand you can't do all of these things that I'm talking about. But you're going to have a lot better luck by keeping your members happy when your members have a smile on their face. And being serious about everything is not conducive to that. So let those serious people go. Let them complain and let them go. And keep the fun people, because at the end of the day, fun people will tick more of those needs and you'll have more satisfied members. That's just about does it for me, but I'd like to open it up to questions and comments for the last 10 minutes. And thank you for watching and listening. Now, it's over to you guys. Do we have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Appreciate your time, Alex, and your ideas. It's really motivating to see somebody doing some work on this recurring problem, I think, in our clubs. You know, how to keep our members entertained.
Mm-hmm.
Really good ideas. Some of them were at this time, precisely putting them in practice and see how it works. Thank you.
My pleasure. Would anybody else like to ask a question or have a comment?
In our club, we actually have a section called Why So Serious? And the point of that is just to start with a few jokes to get everybody to relax.
Mm-hmm. How do you control for the subject matter of the jokes? Do you just trust the member, or do you?
Yes.
Yeah.
We found that common sense is probably the best censorship.
Uh-huh.
True.
I'm also curious to hear about some of the other ideas that you've used in your clubs and what worked and what didn't. Because what we can really do in this way, if we share information, is we can learn. When we try something new, then we can find out, you know, maybe why it went wrong for somebody else, so we can avoid the pitfall.
Well, I can tell you this. For a very long time, we had beer meetings after the normal meeting. Then for some reason we stopped, and it was very visible in the number of active members.
Uh-huh.
Then guess what? We started again, and the atmosphere changed again. Apparently, beer works magic.
Yeah, we do that as well. And when I was at Roastmasters in South Korea, they mixed the beer with the meeting. And although this might sound really fun, I think it might be fun one time, but when people are drunk, some unexpected things happen and things are said that can't be taken back, and I don't recommend it for the meetings. Yeah.
We actually tried one time. So we had this member that had access to, no, let me phrase that differently. He was that guy that sells you wine. I don't know the English term. So he came to the club with, I don't know, maybe 5 types of wine that were only samples to be tested, but it was enough to make everybody happy. So nobody tested just one sample, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Given the fact that it was just one time, it worked perfectly. Also, one time we had this, so at some point we had an inflow of a few new members that made us question whether we should censor the speeches or whether we should allow some type of language in the speeches. And yes, I investigated Toastmasters that does not forbid using any religious, political association within the speech that is, or even sexual references. Those are allowed if the club allows them to. However, we found that it's probably not common practice. It's not something that would help everybody, that would create a nice image for everybody. So we took it to the extreme. We said, you know what? If this is what you want, let's just do it, but let's just go all the way. So we scheduled this one meeting, and what's the meeting when you have the lowest number of members in the whole year? Well, the first meeting in the year. That usually happens to be 2nd, 3rd, or 4th of January, right?
Yeah.
It's basically just the president and 2 other members who are friends of the president. So we said, you know what? We're just going to do it then. If you want to start swearing, that will be your chance. Do whatever you want, but do it then. Do everything. We had a full room. I kid you not. In the history of the club, it never happened that we had to bring more chairs, and there were like 12 people standing. Everybody said everything they wanted to say. There was no limit to anything. But afterwards, everybody agreed. Once is nice, twice is too much. And there wasn't a need for any kind of rule. And we agreed that if somebody ever wants to do it again, we can do it again next year. Once per year, it's a good frequency.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot. Something similar that we did was in Roastmasters in South Korea. Roastmasters started off as an advanced club, and part of their whole idea was to replicate the real world in the meeting. One of the ways that they did that was through something that they called heckling. And heckling was turned on or off by the speaker before the speech. And if you were to turn heckling on, you're inviting the audience to participate in speech with a comment or a challenge or a question by interrupting you during your speech. And when that happened, just like in the real world, you can deflect the question, you can dodge the question, or you can take it head on. And it became very clear very quickly that this was a skill that if you have never practiced before, you're not very good at it when you start, but it takes a few tries, of course. But it's some people are better hecklers than others. But what a really great way to up the challenge of giving a speech. You have to be super prepared in order to prevent people from jumping in and stealing the stage on you, basically, because what oftentimes would happen is someone would make a comment and someone would agree with that comment, and then we almost had a side conversation going on with somebody on stage. So some things can go off the rails pretty quick, especially when people are drinking beer. So.
Yeah.
But there's another idea that we could do once a year that might be really fun, is have heckling. And there's been lots of times where people actually wrote a speech with included pauses for hecklers to jump in to make it more entertaining for everybody else.
That's quite a challenge, yeah.
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 Okay, we're close to the end of our time. Alex, if you have anything, of course, I'm not going to stop you, but if you don't, thank you so much for a great presentation. Anyone wants to give any kind of thank you note to Alex? I think this was a very nice presentation. I already have a few action points for myself to take back to the club. So if any of you would like to have to say 1 or 2 words to Alex, I'm not going to stop you.
Thank you, Alex. Great voice as usual.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Alex, again, thank you very much. For everybody else, I will upload this video on YouTube, and I will make it available first on the event. Then you'll probably receive an email. Next month, we do not have a topic yet, but we do have a speaker already. Anybody wants to know who that is?
Yes.
It will be Ana Marin.
Oh.
Ana Marin, you will, I'm not going to give you any details about her. Details will come throughout this month. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you, Alex, for presenting. Have a great evening. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Mihai, for hosting the event. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
thanks.
Bye.
Thank you
Bye,
so
everybody.
much. Bye bye.